Hello and welcome. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for having me on this live event today. I am Darrell Gilmour, the Technical Director here at Skills for Security, and I'll be taking you through this presentation today on training and apprenticeships. So firstly, let's have a look at what we're going to be covering in this presentation. We'll start off with a bit of a Skills for Security overview, a bit of information on who we are and what we do. We'll then look at the challenges that we're all facing industry-wide and how we can help and what we are doing to try and alleviate some of those issues. We'll then look at the FES breakdown, or the Fire, Emergency and Security Systems Apprenticeship breakdown, as well as the other offerings that we provide as a business, both apprenticeships and commercial training. We'll look at the funding and the costings for apprenticeships, and then we'll finish off with a little Q&A. So firstly, who are we? Skills for Security are still the largest fire and security apprenticeship provider in the UK. Now with over 500 plus live students enrolled on the programme, we have apprentices enrolled from Inverness in Scotland all the way down to Plymouth and everywhere else in between, as you can see from the map. Over the last 3 years, we've been focused on improving the delivery and growing the business through high quality, accessible training, and with some great success, might add. We've managed to grow the business over 4 times in the last 3 years and have opened centres in Warrington, Birmingham, Mansfield, Oxford and Glasgow, with our newest flagship centre opened in Watford and planned expansion for delivery in the North East on April this year, which is exciting. The 2 reasons for our growth that we believe have led to some of the success in the last 3 years is that our accessible model for delivery, where we're able to develop bespoke programmes to support employers and their requirements. You may have noticed that we now offer some academy style delivery where some of our larger employers have got bespoke apprenticeship classes or cohorts that we have built and kind of modulated the apprenticeship training to suit their business requirements. And secondly, all of our staff have over 15 plus years experience working in the sector. We put them through continuous teaching and professional CPD to keep them up to date with the latest teaching practices, as well as what's going on throughout the industry. And the benefit of all 10 of our delivery staff is that they're all full-time employed. We don't subcontract any of our teaching out, and all of them that are in Skills for Security have that same passion and drive to provide high quality, standardised teaching to the whole of the industry. Just a bit of a fact in the background of this is in 2019, we only had 1 fire and security tutor. We now have 10. Our organisational staff has went from 9 to 50. Gives us all anxiety, but we're loving every single step of the way. So moving on to some challenges that we all face within the sector, and there's obviously a number of challenges that you face as employers on a day-to-day basis, and these challenges are typically related to training, development, accessibility to local training providers, and of course the growing skill shortages where no one can seem to get their hands on any sort of staff. Now, what we are facing is a skills crisis now rather than a skills shortage. Recruitment and retention challenges across the board are causing headaches for companies like yourselves. Plus, young people just aren't being attracted to this sector. We're not choosing this sector as a career path of choice. And over the next couple of slides, we'll look at firstly why apprenticeships, and then we'll address each of those points as we go through and really try and lay out the groundwork that we're trying to do as we go through and address some of these challenges and issues. Now, why apprentices? Why apprenticeships? And I'm sure I don't need to tell you why apprenticeships are important for your business. There are tons of internal reasons why you would want to recruit apprenticeships or apprentices for your businesses and workforces. Making those individuals feel valued, developing your own workforce, succession planning, and so on and so on. But there is a bigger reason why we push apprenticeships industry-wide, and it's now becoming more important than ever. There is a current there's a current skills shortage within the fire and security sector of around 30,000 shortfall of engineers. Now, I am sure that you all can resonate with that, for the fact that it's almost like a Premier League of buying and selling engineers at the moment. Every manager, every business owner that we speak to is feeling this pinch, not being able to successfully resource their works and retain that staff. Now, organisations are reporting an increase on subcontractor usage due to this, where their estimates between anywhere of 30% up to 70% of work being completed is being completed by subcontractors. Now, this obviously brings its own challenges, where we're increasing our overall costs, but decreasing that quality of work. And a lot of the companies that we have been speaking to having to return to sites just to rectify some of the works that contractors have left behind. In recent studies, the sector recruits circa about 100,000 people into the fire and security sector across multiple different roles, turning over about £10 billion per annum. However, there are only about 1,200 apprentices to that staff ratio across the whole of the UK, which is 1%. Which means that realistically, to reduce that skills gap and eradicate the current issues, it's going to take us 25 years to be able to reduce that skills shortage or to eliminate it completely. Now, that's before we start talking about the legislative changes, recent events that have led to more of awareness of fire and security systems. Now, the government are expecting this to get worse. And if we compare this to the likes of the electrical industry, for example, they have a ratio of about 5% of employees to apprenticeships or apprentices, whereas in the fire and security sector, we currently operate on 1. Now, that then gives us a 5 times growth in our apprenticeship activity just to bring ourselves in line with the electrical sector. Now, there's some potential there, but we all need to get on board and buy into the idea of bringing on apprentices to serve our business. Now, for talking sakes, let's say we took on 5,000 apprentices enrolling each year. The skill shortage would be rectified in a short number of years. And as mentioned, it's only going to get worse. And if we don't act, it will continue to spiral and the resourcing becomes even worse as we go through these years. The overall skill shortage for the engineering disciplines in the UK is expected to reach a 265,000 shortfall just in the next 3 years. Us at Skills for Security, based on research and conversations with customers, a very healthy and successful business model can be built around a 10% ratio of apprentice to employee. That's not to say that all of these apprentices need to be fire, emergency and security system technicians. That is just an apprenticeship balance. Now, whether that is back of house or front of house managerial or supervisor staff or your technical staff on the ground, 10% is an achievable and can be quite a successful ratio. And if we manage to hit that, 3 years roughly would be our cap, and this current situation will be dealt with very, very swiftly. Now, how are we helping? So access to training is a major driving force in what Skills are trying to achieve. We believe that no one should be disadvantaged by having to travel for hours and hours to reach a local training provider, or having employers put off from taking apprentices on due to logistics in their situ from a training provision. Now, with sites across the UK, as mentioned before, in Warrington, Birmingham, Oxford, Nottingham, Watford and Scotland, with our newest edition of Middlesbrough coming April of this year, we are aiming to make that training accessible for all of those who need it. We do have a strong belief that we don't want to disadvantage anyone having to find or travel or get access to training, and that is what our business model has been based around, and it's been successful so far. Now, our main and most popular apprenticeship offering is a technical fire, emergency and security systems apprenticeship, or FES for short. We deliver this face-to-face in all of the centres that we just discussed, and we also have a couple of other apprenticeship provisions that we do offer, two in which fall under our physical security, being Security First Line Manager apprenticeships and our Security Officer Services apprenticeship. With growing numbers and interest on our physical apprenticeships due to legislative changes, is becoming all the more popular. Now, one sector of our apprenticeships that we have seen huge uptrend in are our business studies. This allows those who are seeing engineers move into managerial roles, whether it's team leaders, customer service, or becoming a supervisor. Each of these are excellent for developing that skill set of the individual, as well as developing back of house staff and keeping your organisation running. It also gives some additional benefits for progressing that individual in their career, especially when it makes them feel valued, it develops their leadership qualities and helps you retain them for at least an additional 15 to 18 months, which in the current climate is quite vital. But you as an employer benefit from that as well, and having that more competent level of staff. But out with apprenticeships, which are all fully funded by the government, we also offer a number of online technical accredited courses that are CPD accredited, aimed at engineers, project managers, surveyors, salespeople, all to make them more aware and give them a good understanding of standards and codes of practice and how we apply them industry-wide. As well as we offer practical training courses at most of the centres that we've already discussed. And this is where your on the ground staff can benefit from upskilling, where they may only be familiar with one or two of the disciplines that we cover within the fire, emergency and security systems industry, as well as where they're maybe not familiar or feeling confident with working and operating in those systems. We can also utilise them for streamlining your overall business functions and resourcing, especially when you think if you've got an engineer in the northeast only knows fire, but you have potentially other customers within the area that require a different level of service from different disciplines. We are able to engage with yourselves, create and develop a programme that would be fit for purpose for your business. And then moving on to that, if there was a requirement and a need, then work with us. If you have a specific business function, business need, or a new contract that's been taken on, we can work together in tandem to create and design a bespoke delivery programme that would train your staff relevant to your business needs and functions. Now, recruitment services and how we can try and bring those young people back into the industry and raise some awareness. We are looking at ways in which we can differentiate or diversify our offerings to employers, not just on the teaching. We offer a free recruitment service targeted at trying to find the right candidate that fits your business. Now, what we would do in this case is provide you with a CV template. You would fill in your prerequisites, and then we would post that CV, or we would post that job advert on the government's apprenticeship websites and on Indeed. We would then do the legwork to make sure that the individuals that we send you meet your prerequisites, giving you that streamlined approach so that you're not having to spend hours sifting through CVs and potentially not finding the right candidate. We also have a funding management service where why would you want to waste your valuable time learning a different process, having a different login when we could do that for you? Now, the funding management service would be for accessing your digital account, accessing your funding, whether it's via levy or whether it's via government funding. And the way in which we would do it is with your permissions, we would manage that payment service between yourselves and the training provider. And if you wanted to keep all in-house, we would be more than happy to schedule that time to train up your relevant staff. And then we also have our traineeships. Now, putting you in touch with those already interested within the fire and security sector is a huge help. Getting the interest of those individuals who have already went through a few weeks of awareness of fire and security, a base level introduction to what the apprenticeship is, the longevity and the retention of that individual in your business. What we have seen over the last 12 months of running it is massively increased. So making that fire and security engineer a career of choice, what we've discussed there on apprenticeships or traineeships is our initiative of 16 to 18-year-olds. It's a 14-week programme. We bring them into Skills for Security. These individuals are not employed or full-time employed. We put them through their functional skills, which is a mandatory requirement of all advanced level 3 apprenticeships in the UK. And then we also put them out on a 3-week work placement with those companies like yourselves that want to be involved. Gives you a chance to try before you hire and see if that individual fits your business. We're also looking at a traineeship expansion, which is aimed at 19-year-old plus. Now, this is a different demographic of individuals, those that have likely got a driving licence, those that have likely done some form of further education or held a form of job. Now, what we do is we bring them in for a 5-week full-time course, again, going through that base level information on what the fire and security sector is, teaching them how to wire provisional devices and interconnections, and then again, a 1-week work placement with your organisation to see if that person fits with your business. And at the end of it, if you offer them a job, then fantastic. We have great links with local schools and educational institutions, and that is ever growing, especially as we start moving into different areas of the country. We set that precedence with the local schools and educational institutions and get a good relationship. The reason for this is to try and raise awareness of what we do as a fire and security sector and the career opportunities that all of these individuals have of pursuing a career with this industry. And then lastly, we are competition organising partners for the national and international World Skills UK. Now, World Skills UK are a competition organisation aimed at showcasing the best of the best in an apprenticeship or training throughout the UK. Now, there is competitions for everything, whether it's hairdressing, whether it's forensic science. And then in 2019, we done our first ever security competition within the World Skills UK cycle. And as of 2021, we then introduced our fire systems apprenticeship challenge in there as well. There is now 2 tandem competitions running nationally that gives us that reach into, again, more colleges and educational institutions to raise awareness for our industry and hope to then reduce that overall skills crisis that we are currently facing. Now, let's have a quick overview of the Fire, Emergency and Security Systems apprenticeship. It is a fully accredited level 3. The fully accredited level 3 apprenticeship now brings us in line with the rest of the advanced technical apprenticeships in the UK. Whether you are an electrician, heating and plumbing engineer, we now sit on that same level. It is a 3-year apprenticeship, 3-year technical based on apprenticeship, where we do it and deliver it on a block release basis. Your students will come to ourselves for 1 week every 8 weeks, and we stagger the development of that programme to kind of reflect what those individuals would be doing on site with their responsibilities and so on. We do it as a multidisciplined apprenticeship, not to say that it would work better for a fire-only pathway, which we offer for the apprenticeship, or a security-only pathway for the apprenticeship, depending on your business needs. But multidisciplined is where we aim this at, to try and bring more talent and more flexibility with the working of our engineers into the sector. And we cover everything from design, installation, testing, commissioning, maintenance, and audits of systems in a real-life scenario with our purpose-built facilities across the country. Now, as mentioned, it's a 3-year technical apprenticeship. We do it on block attendance, and it is 6 blocks per year. The block attendance, we give the full year's attendance cycle in advance to allow you to break down and schedule that time for your apprentice to come to one of our centres. We do an end of block assessment, we do an end of year assessment, and then all aiming towards our endpoint assessment for the end of the apprenticeship, and have that continuous communication with yourself as an employer all the way through that journey with our scheduled 12 weekly or quarterly reviews. Throughout the apprenticeship programme, all of the learners will get an ECS apprenticeship card. Within passing the apprenticeship gives them that opportunity to apply for their ECS Gold card or Technician's card. We do and have a full-time functional skills tutor and employed by Skills for Security. And what this allows us to do is, rather than being a training provider that outsources the maths and English teaching, we bring it all in-house to make sure that no learner's disadvantaged. We have a fantastic learning support network where any students that may have learning support needs are supported throughout their journey. Regular skill scans, which are fed directly back to you as an employer, giving live feedback and updates so that you're kept in the loop of the education and journey of your apprentice. And as mentioned, we have those regular quarterly one-to-ones with yourselves and the apprentice, just to make sure that everyone's on track, and that opens up everything up for that discussion on where can be developed, what needs to be done on the employer side, and any live feedback from yourself as an employer to us as a training provider. Now, the idea of the curriculum goals is at the end of first year, we teach the students to be competent up to a certain level of installation. Now, that is completing basic tasks, first and second fixing, interconnections and system infrastructure, where that is by the end of year one, they should be competent in doing so, allowing you to start getting some more out of your apprentice and giving them some more responsibility. At the end of year two, self-sufficient in completing technical tasks, provisional programming and technical fault-finding tasks, whether it's carrying out maintenance work and so on. And then by the end of year three, we expect every one of our apprentices to be completing tasks that you would expect from a fully qualified engineer, whether it is system audits, takeovers, and so on. And then just to give a little summary on how the funding works. If you're a levy employer, which is someone who has a wage bill of £3 million or more, you will get access to a digital account, or everything via a digital account. That monies is then transferred to the training provider out of your levy pot, which is just a levy tax that all larger companies are subjected to. If you don't use it, it gets taken back away from you. Any non-levy companies, which fits with the vast majority of the profile throughout the UK or in this sector, 19 plus, it is fully funded up to 95%. 16 to 19, it's 100% funded with an incentive. Now, what I mean by 95% is the last 5% would be an employer contribution, meaning that the most you would pay over the 3 years would be £900, which would be £300 per year that your apprentice is on the programme. So even if you are falling into the category of taking on someone that's 19 plus, the most you'll ever have to contribute is £900 over the 3 years. Now, I hope you found this interesting, and I hope that it's been informative enough. If there's any further questions for myself or any of our team, please reach out on the contact details provided on the screen, and hope to hear from all of you soon. Thank you very much.
So hi Darrell, it's great to have Skills for Security back at Fireby Live. As a partner for the event and a speaker, why did you want to get involved?
Well, from the Skills for Security point of view, it gives us a different audience to reach out to talk about apprenticeships, talk about training, and to really drive and push that message on why we think apprenticeships and upskilling the industry is so important.
And that's a topic that we definitely want to support as well. And why is it so important to help the fire industry upskill?
Well, you look at the recent disasters that have happened on a national scale, and we never seem to learn from any of these disasters. And we're now starting to see a lot of people get into the fire industry based on, oh, looks like a lucrative part of something I can build into my portfolio of delivery. Now, there is a lot of legislation and a lot of considerations when installing, designing, commissioning, and so on a fire alarm system, and not done properly can lead to catastrophic failure of a system. And then we just start to look at the recent tragedies. And if we had a educated industry that know what they're looking for, know what they're talking about, and know how to install, design, and commission and maintain these systems, we could have quite easily avoided a few of them.
And once again, we're hearing that buzzword of competency.
Yes.
It's quite a big topic this year. We're finding a lot, not just at our event, but also lots of other events. So you mentioned the skills gap taking place in the fire industry. What do you think the core reason for this is?
Numerous reasons, and having conversations as we do on a weekly, daily basis almost, with concerns around bringing new people in, as concerns around businesses trying to be able to afford apprenticeships and afford to upskill. It's just one of these unfortunate things that has seemed to have snowballed over a couple of years, where we're stagnated for so long. We've got used to not having to upskill or promote apprenticeships and drive that new talent into the sector. And that's the reason why we wanted to partner with yourselves, and what we do on a national scale is to try and raise awareness of why it is so important. And if anybody has any concerns that they would like to discuss, more than happy, reach out. We've dealt with different queries from different areas of the sector, different areas of the UK, and they all vary. But we're here and we've got the experience to try and talk you through it and at least give some guidance on how you can best go forward.
And for some of the business owners that may be watching today and who might be looking at hiring an apprentice, what do you think their biggest concern might be, and how can they mitigate it?
One of the biggest concerns that we've found recently is trying to attract young people into the sector, where they don't know how to reach out, they don't know where to find these young people, they don't know where to find the resourcing for their apprenticeships. Now, again, reach out to us. We have fantastic key links with educational institutions, schools and colleges, where we can put you in touch, whether it's for career fairs, whether it is via our traineeship scheme. But that's typically a lot of the issues around, well, where do I find these young people? Where do I find these people that I want to try and attract that are right for my business? Easiest answer, get in touch with ourselves, and more than happy to talk you through any of these above processes or concerns you may have.
And lastly, as an extension of the British Security Industry Association, Skills for Security clearly has an abundance of security knowledge. But what makes you qualified in the fire industry?
So we've got 10 deliverable staff, 75% of which have served their time as multidiscipline engineers. We put ourselves and our staff through endless amounts of continued professional development, whether it is through fire-specific and regulated qualifications, but we are also an accredited member of FireQual. So we deliver the FireQual units, whether it's your fundamentals for BS 5839 Part 1 and 6, and we have got really good at it as the easiest way to kind of encapsulate that. But all of our staff, regardless if it's for security or for fire background, they are trained and competent for delivery, whether it is for apprenticeships or whether it is commercially to upskill the rest of the industry via FireQual and via our normal day-to-day training.
Well, thank you, Darrell. I really appreciate you asking our questions and for
anytime.
speaking at Fire by Live this year. If anybody has any further questions about apprenticeships and how they can get involved, Skills for Security have an exhibitor booth in the exhibitor portion of the platform. Please do reach out and speak to any member of the team and get involved. Thank you.